Welcome to Holding Space with Authentically Amy. This is a place where you don't have to perform, prove, or hold it all together. You're allowed to exhale, to feel, to speak, or just be. Here, your truth is safe, your emotions are honored, and your soul is gently invited to the surface. I'm not here to fix you because I don't believe you're broken. I believe your soul already knows the way. My role isn't to give you advice, but to hold a steady frequency of love so you have space to rise. This podcast is an extension of my own healing. If you're here, you belong, and I'm honored to sit beside you. Welcome to another episode of Holding Space with Authentically Amy. I'm your host, Amy Thurman, and I'm so glad that you're here. Thanks for tagging along. You guys are sharing these episodes. You're loving this, and I'm so grateful. I am just so glad that you're here. Welcome, Loren. I'm so glad that you're here to join me.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm eager to learn more about you. So, as you know, I'm here to hold space for you. And the question that I ask is that if there's anything that feels heavy on your heart that might help to talk about, or anything else, I am here to hold space for you. So I just turn it over to you and let you take it from there.
Yeah, perfect. I guess one of the things I'm thinking about this morning is I, I I wouldn't say it's not a failure, but I had a just a speed bump working with a client recently where, I was working with them and things just started working with them. Things were going well, and then I found out several days later that this client was not being honest with me and was hiding some things. And uh, yeah, that kind of, listen, we're all human, right? And I've done
That's
that in
so
my life, and
true.
I know other people do too. But uh, it was jarring to think that things were going in a certain direction, and then to find out that they were going in a different direction. The good news is found out that they're going in a different direction, so we can course correct. But it was interesting. It's kind of the first time since I started coaching that I felt like maybe I missed something.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, have I been in this situation before? I finally learned to not take it personally that it wasn't a reflection of me. But like you, same thing. I'm like, what did I miss? How could I have let myself get in this situation? I should have seen this from the beginning. I should have seen right through it. But I have learned, and I'm still learning, that, like you said, we're all human. And we want to present this front that we're all put together, that we have our crap together, that we know what we're doing. And what I find is once we get into it a little bit, with the line of work that I do, once we get into it, people are like, everything is thrown to the into the ceiling. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Everything's thrown up into the fan, and they don't know how to manage that because they haven't ever accessed that part of them or seen that side of them. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. And I mean, this is not the first time that this has happened. It's just the first time that I was kind of caught off guard by it in this way. So, I've talked before about what my responsibility is to my clients, and I'm not responsible for my clients' outcomes, right? I'm responsible for presenting them with choices and options and working with them through some challenges and difficulties that they're having, and you know, thinking some out of the box strategies to help them connect the dots to what's important so that their actions are following their values. Um, and people come to me because they're struggling.
Mm-hmm.
They're having a challenge, and so kind of I mean, at the end of the day, this particular client has not affected me in any way at all. They're only affecting their own ability to progress and proceed. But this is a challenge that they've never encountered before, and they've never had someone, hold them accountable and challenge them to, do things a little bit differently. So it affected me more than I thought I would. I've said like I celebrate successes. I share in the processing of challenges. But I don't take responsibility for either of those. So it's an important reminder to me today because it felt like, it felt at first that that I'd done something, that I missed something, that I had done something incorrectly. And I was starting to take on responsibility for this person's inaction or misdirection. Um, and that's not my job.
Mhm. Yeah, that's so true. I mean, just that awareness piece that you know what your role is, and it's not that, is so powerful. But it sounds like you are doing beautiful work. Like the what you're doing with these people is beautiful and highly needed. And from my perspective, what I see here is a learning experience. We don't like to, when we're in the midst of that, say, "Oh, I can learn from this," you know. But that's what I see. Do you see it that way too?
Oh, 100%. I mean, life is going to throw stuff at you. It's a phrase because life actually doesn't throw stuff at you. In reality, there is
Hmm.
no like entity called life that is throwing stuff at you. But yeah, think that everyone experiences challenges and they're absolutely learning experiences. Uh, and one does themselves a disservice if they don't look at them that way. If they're looking at challenges, speed bumps, impediments as things that are stopping progression. There's something in the way that you have the ability to, get out of the way. And sometimes you need, a different perspective or a different, kind of set of eyes or viewpoint to help you parse that stuff out. So,
Oh yeah, as humans, we have these expectations. Like I know I do. Everything I go into, I have this expectation, and it's just this subliminal, unconscious expectation of how I expect things to go, how I expect myself to perform or behave, and how I expect the other person to perform or behave. And I have found that such a disappointment, because it never happens the way I expect myself to or them to. And just, really trying, I really am trying. I'm still learning to just it's about trust. It comes down to me, it comes down to trust, that we just trust that it's all going to happen the way it's supposed to happen, and that we don't have to expect things a certain way because we will inevitably be disappointed.
yeah, there's a lot of sayings that I've picked up along the way, and one of them is to stay out of the results business. My only job
Mm-hmm.
is to take positive action that's aligned with my values. If I'm taking action that's not aligned with my values, I'll feel the friction, I'll feel the angst, I'll feel, some barrier to that. If I'm aligning my actions with my values, life runs smoothly. It becomes easier. It's a I feel like I have more agency over the direction and control of where things are headed. So,
I love that. That's so good. It reminds me, I have some online communities, and the content we just covered last week was about our values
mm,
and how it's important to identify our values and live exactly what you said, live from that place of what we value. But so often people don't really even know what their values are. I mean, we went through this process of identifying our top 3 to 5 values, and they were in shock. Like they didn't really know that these are the things they valued. So I'm just curious if you have, like, do you have a pattern of continually upgrading your values? Because we change, we grow and evolve. So our values tend to change, you grow and evolve.
yeah,
And I'm just
100%.
curious how you do that.
Yeah, and that's where I start with my clients also. We start with a values to voice exercise because it's I take my clients through my journey. You know, I have a sign in my office here that says, you know, I'm becoming the coach I once needed. I am My client is me 5 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, and the first thing that I do and what helped me find my direction was understanding what I valued. So the first thing we do is get clear on your values. Like you said, let's pick 3 to 5 values. Why are these important to you? What's the most important value that you see here? And once you kind of know your values and have a North Star direction that you can aim towards, life just becomes so much easier, less
It really,
frictionless.
right? And you don't really have to think so much about the choices that you make. You know, I shared an example with them of I was in a situation where someone asked me to do something that I didn't find that if I did it, I wouldn't find it to be in integrity, which is one of my values.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have to think about it because I know integrity is one of my values, and that wouldn't have been an integrity thing to do. So I do think, this is important for those of you watching and listening. If you haven't ever done this exercise to go through figuring out what your values are, it does exactly what Lauren said. It makes life so much more simple and so much more easy.
Yeah, and don't be ashamed or worried if you need a list of values,
Yeah.
right? So when we were talking about awareness before, for me, some of the biggest moments of growth in my life have just been becoming in touch with my awareness. What's happening in my mind and body right now? What's going on, right? And I didn't when I first started this work, I couldn't identify what I was feeling. I couldn't identify what my values were. I needed a chart that had 60 feeling words on it to kind of
Yes.
look through and say, yeah, that kind of feels right. Yeah, I think it's this one here, you know. So doing those exercises that help increase awareness of self have been the most dramatic shift for me.
That's, oh, such a good idea. I do the same thing. That's so interesting. It's just, because when you have been on the other side of it, where our clients are, you know what they need. Like exactly what you said. I know what I would have needed on that part of my journey. So lived experience is so powerful.
Yeah.
So, I'm an authenticity expert, and someone trying to be snarky online, imagine that, said, "So what makes you an authenticity expert? How can you call yourself that?" And I was like, that's a legit question. I knew that they were trying to be snarky, but it really is from my lived experience. And I
Yeah.
think we don't really give enough merit to lived experience because it's so powerful, so powerful.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people just kind of go through their day living their experience without ever taking a moment to understand what that live experience actually means or how it impacts them and others. So, that's been such a huge shift, and I'm so grateful for just being able to kind of like pause for a moment and internalize and have, be like that third party observer of self to kind of understand what's going on. And when you have that awareness, you can, get signals and you can start to understand some of the things that trigger other things and avoid those that don't serve you and, head towards those that do. Um, but yeah, having that awareness has been a big gift. And what I aim to do now is help other people gain that awareness without the angst and pain that I went through.
Right? Oh my gosh, right? Jeez. I love this idea of the third party awareness, like a third party, because I'm just thinking, I lived 10 years with a broken neck and
Hmm.
almost died. Like that's a whole story. That's what my first book is about. But when people comment to me about that, I'm like, I lived it. Like it's not that big a deal. I know it was traumatic, but I lived it. So I don't see it as awe-inspiring as a third-party person would. So I feel like when we're in the moment and we're living through what we're going through, we don't see the power that it can have on other people.
Yeah, having the ability to kind of be an observer, an outside observer of self. It's a skill like any other. Any of the things that I work with people on or that I do myself has been a practice, and it's been, something that through, repetition, and exercise, practice, exercise, experience, can level up that area of your life. So, being able to kind of like take myself out of the moment and act as if I'm an observer in the situation to remove, whatever feelings or emotions are getting in the way of being or decision making. That's super, super helpful for me anyway.
I'm really hitting on this term of practice. Like
Mm.
that really struck me because I feel like we're practicing every day. We're practicing. Some people just don't have a clue what they're practicing because they're doing it the same way every day, not even realizing, but it's still practice. Anything that you do over and over again is still practice. So to be intentional about that, it can be life changing for people. I imagine you see that every day.
I do. And, one of the things that I try to stress for myself and for others is that, small incremental actions and changes over time are way better than any kind of like massive heroic, single effort. It's the layering, it's the practicing, it's anyone who's ever played an instrument, not me. I mean, I've tried a few times, but again, the practice. If it was something that lined up for me as an ability that I enjoyed nourishing, the practice would be easier. But this was not something I did enjoy my time learning music, but it wasn't something that stuck with me because I wasn't passionate about it. I like music, I enjoy music, but I didn't feel my energy driving me, to excel past the space that I had gotten to. All right. That's again where you're kind of like aligning your values and making sure that your actions are following those values to create less friction in your life.
Boy, could I go off on this, because I teach authenticity, and that's a part of it. Like listening to, like you knew that music, you didn't want to pursue music beyond the little that you had. That was something that was authentic to you. Yeah, what I see on a daily basis with my clients are people who continue, just this example with the music, continue to pursue music because someone told them that they're good at it, or someone told them that they need to, or someone told them that they expect them to.
Yes.
So we just fall in line with what people are expecting us to do and telling us that we're good at. But just because we're good at something doesn't mean that we need to do it. If it's not something that brings us joy, that's my whole measure. It's like you said, if it doesn't bring you joy, you really need to consider if it's part of your authentic self.
Yeah, and for me, with the learning different instruments or trying to, become, proficient at music, I loved the idea of it. I loved, kind of envisioning myself in that space of sitting around a campfire and just taking out a guitar and being able to like, get
Yeah.
everyone involved and joining. But as I think about it and talking about it right now, the real value for me in that was community. So it wasn't about
Mm.
making music, it was about just being with people and sharing with people. And so I can do that in different ways that I'm actually more proficient at that make my life easier. So like one of the things that I've done is I've done some research on myself. What are my innate talents? What kind of skills do I just come to the table with? And if I can foster those, if it's something that aligns with my values and I foster the skills that I'm already already have some innate ability in, that also becomes less frictionless rather than trying to, rather than studying for hours and hours and hours to try to improve my math. It's not something that I've innately attracted to or skilled at. So I could spend hours trying to improve that, and I can, but I won't be as satisfied as if I take something that I am skilled at, something like writing, and invest time in that and invest time in creativity. I'll be able to improve that skill that I'm already good at, maybe as much as I was trying to improve the skill that I wasn't as good at.
Hmm.
But life will be so much smoother if I'm doing something that innately follows my natural talents, my natural being. Again, I keep saying this. It's where can I go or what can I do that creates more, smoothness, less friction in my life. That equates
That
to more
makes,
satisfaction.
yeah, it makes so much sense to me. And the piece you talked about how what you really wanted was a sense of community, like it was the community piece that you were missing, that you were craving.
Right.
And it reminds me of an example I use with my clients about fear, but it's the same thing, just different. But I tell them, like, most people are afraid of speaking on stage, which is something that I do. But you're not really afraid of speaking on stage. You're really afraid of messing up. You're really afraid of being judged. You're really afraid of not, fumbling your words. So it's exactly what you said. Like it's that 10-year-old who keeps asking why, but why, but why? You keep going to a deeper layer and a deeper layer and a deeper layer to get to the root of it, just like you did. And when you find the root of what it is you're really wanting, what it is you're really craving, you can find a way to incorporate that really does help and bring you joy in your life. I love that.
Yeah, and for me, it's it's been quite a journey of some different things. I've had a lot of different careers and types of careers. I've changed careers 4 times, not because I don't have direction or it's because people change and I've evolved and I've
Yes.
grown into where I want to put my energy today, right? So, yeah, I wouldn't say that it's an easy journey. It's definitely have been some challenges. I moved from New York to Arizona 5 years ago without really knowing anyone here, mainly because I just needed a completely different environment from what I had come from. I was in a very toxic relationship. It was during the pandemic, so now everyone is in close proximity to one another. A toxic relationship, close proximity, where you're like, boom,
Yes,
it all blew
same.
up. But that
Yes.
was a real gift for me because it had me
Yeah.
really look at patterns in my life that had kept repeating themselves year and year, different situations, different, trying to do different directions, but the same patterns kept emerging. And until I dealt with those patterns, um, internal patterns, and understood, what was driving those, I wasn't able to kind of affect change or find, the satisfaction or happiness that I have today. So, having
Mhm.
taken that journey, and we mentioned community. When I first moved to Arizona, I really didn't know anyone. And I'm a self-proclaimed nerd and geek, and I love board games. So I decided to start a board game group here in Arizona. I went on Meetup, and I looked
Yeah.
for board game groups so that I could join and meet people, which was a huge challenge for me to begin with. Really pushing myself outside of my comfort zone to go,
Mhm.
and I craved community, but I didn't know how to create it.
Yeah.
So I started this board game group. It became one of the largest board game groups in the Phoenix area. We had 80 people showing up every Monday night at a local pub to play board games. We took over the whole thing Monday night. 80 people came in for a year and a half. We had that kind of traffic. And then I, had enough of kind of like the management of the organization, so turned it over to some other people that had come in that were being, active. So that board game group is still going today, still gets 30, 40 people every Monday night for 5 years now. And I have created community out of that, and I've seen other people create community out of that. So that, and feeling the satisfaction of that, that was, kind of where my North Star changed direction. I had a 20-year
Mhm.
career in technology working for, huge enterprise organizations. And that was exciting for a while, but it didn't, I started feeling friction after years and years and years because I was not doing things that were in alignment with my values. I didn't get to choose who I worked for. I didn't get to choose the kind of projects that I did. I didn't get to choose the type of people that I worked with. Now I have the I want to say luxury because it's not luxurious and it's not easy. It's a lot
Sure.
more
Yeah.
challenging than just getting a salary, uh, every couple of weeks. So now I'm in business on my own. It's another challenge that I've given myself, but it feels right. It's in alignment with how
Hmm.
I want to show up in the world, who I am, and how I serve community.
Oh, that is so beautiful. I love that so much. There are so many rabbit holes I could go down with this. It's so good. The one that's sticking out though is that, people say to me a lot, teach me how to do what you do, teach me how to be like you and, become all these things that you have done. And I always say, I can't. This is what's aligned for me. This is what's true. I live in self alignment, and this is what it looks like in my life. But
Yeah.
if I taught you to do exactly what I did, it wouldn't be aligned in your life. And, so often we know more about other people than we know about ourselves. And I think what you and I have done is we have learned more about ourselves so that we can be better community members and we can figure out exactly what it is we're interested in and throw things out there like creating a board game community. Like, how cool is that? I love
Yeah,
that.
100%.
Oh.
Yeah, when I think back to the last 5 years when I made this big kind of shift and change in my life, um, again, I don't take responsibility for people, but I was the catalyst for creating a lot of communities. And I still create communities even though I'm not involved in that board game group anymore. I germinated it, and any new people that are coming in there that are finding their friend groups, I started that, and that's something that I'm very, very proud of. And it's also, I've taken that lived experience, and it's another program that I created for, people that I'm working with to teach them how to build community if they don't know how to do that or have never done that as adults. It's the older you get and things shift and change and you grow apart from people, it's harder and harder to create that community for yourself when you're not engaged in social situations as you are, growing up as a child. You have, your school, and as an adult, you have your work, but it's a different kind of community basis, and it's a different kind of learning how to nurture and build those relationships.
Hmm. And I think it's so important for us to remember so many, we are built, like we humans are built to live in community. Like some people say, I don't need anyone else, and me, I'm a true introvert. Like people don't believe me because I know how to, I can put my hat on, my extrovert hat on, when I
Yeah,
need
I'm
to.
laughing, Amy, because it's so perfect that you're an introvert and you have this, this space where you hold space for others and you have community, but you're like, no, I don't want to be with anyone. But that's how it goes for people, right? Like,
It's so true. It is. And I know that about myself, but I also am a lover of people. Like I'm a lover of souls. I love to know people's stories. I want to use what I've been through to help other people. But I think it's important for people to understand too that we do crave community, even though we say we don't want it, we need it, and that exactly what you did. If you don't find a community that you are comfortable with, then you can create your own. Like it really is. Like I have created several communities online and in person. Like it really is not that difficult. And I think people don't believe that they can do it. You totally can. You can. You totally can. You can totally create your own community. It just
it's
takes one
it
person having an idea and a desire, and you will. Other people out there want that. Want what you have. You just have to find them.
yeah, I'll challenge you on one point about it
Okay.
being easy, like it's simple,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
wouldn't say that's necessarily easy. Like one of the things that I work with people on, because it's something that, again, I'm my own client 5 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that pushing outside of the comfort zone,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it was extremely, extremely difficult for me to stand there in a pub where I really didn't know anyone and start welcoming people into this community and introducing myself and being vulnerable. That was super, super difficult for me. But what made it easy was it was in alignment with my values. So,
Yeah.
you know, again, I go back to that all the time. That's kind of the starting point for my work. And once that has been, once you understand how to source what your values are, your actions can naturally follow those.
Yeah. I really want to bring this to awareness. I really don't want people to miss this part that it was an extremely difficult thing for you to do to start this community. And I appreciate you calling me out on that. I know it is simple, not easy. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
my bad. Um, but it was one of the most difficult things you did to put yourself out there to start this community. Yet that became the springboard to get you to where you are now. And so I feel like there's a message there people really need to understand that sometimes we have to do the things that don't feel comfortable, that we don't want to do. We have to step outside of our comfort zones
Oh,
to
yes.
get to the place that we really want to be.
Oh, yes. Yeah, and that's the real challenge. It's how do you push yourself and how do you expand to be able to fill that space that you're trying to step into? Repetition. Again, it's the practice of doing it. So going there every week and being confronted with strangers and introducing myself and telling them what this is about gets easier and easier over time. Now, I don't think it will, because anytime I go into that situation, still today, that, the childhood nervousness, the all of the stuff that, you're kind of imprinted with in your environment, when you're at those formative years, you still carry with you. But
Sure.
you don't have to be at the effect of them now that you're an adult. You have some agency and can make some decisions and say, oh, this is what's going on with me. I'm super, super nervous about meeting these people, and my heart is racing, and I've got, this feeling in my stomach that I might throw up. Like,
Yeah.
what is that about? Oh, what it's really about is I am worried that people won't accept me for who I am.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's, this is where knowing ourselves comes into play too, because, if I was in that situation, it doesn't mean this is right for everyone. This is what I would do. Like if I knew that I was going to create this community and we were going to meet at this pub, I would go a couple weeks before, and just stand there in the pub, get used to the environment, start just talking to people who are there, as a patron, not as a person who is offering this community, but as a patron to get my nervous system used to the environment, used to talking to people there. I'm all about these baby steps because that's what I
Yeah.
need. It doesn't mean everyone else needs these, but it's
But
something to think about, that's what works for me.
yeah, 100%. And that's one of the exciting challenges of, working with human beings is to help them find out what does work for them. What is going to work for them, because it is not a one size fits all kind of thing. So sourcing what is going to work for someone. Again, it's my goal for people is to have a, happy, frictionless, satisfying life. And I've learned how to do that. Is my life frictionless? No. Is it heading in that? Is it more frictionless than it used to be? 100%. Can I keep that trend going up? 100%. That's what I want to do.
I'm
Practice.
sorry, I'm a little bit stunned right now. I'm just like taking this in. I'm
No, it's
processing this
fine. It's just, I
this
keep
this
like I have the
frictionless
same.
existence. I love the
Yeah.
thought of that.
Yeah.
Frictionless. Wow. Okay, this is going to go in my journal tonight. My entry tonight is going to be about this frictionless existence and where I stand in this.
I have some experience and know a lot of people in the 12-step community. And one of the when you go into when you go into one of these communities, you'll just notice right away the the sayings, the phrases, the things that people, keep coming back one day at a time. A lot of the things that you might have heard before, people say in these 12 step rooms. So I've gotten a lot of things from that community, the sayings that just work. And one of them is, the acceptance. And I'm not going to, it's been a long time since I read this, but I won't get it verbatim, but it's basically if I'm angsty, it's because there's some person, place, or thing that I have, there's some person, place, or thing that's kind of out of whack with who I am and how I want to show up, right? So acceptance is, taking things exactly as they are and accepting your circumstances and your things exactly as they are and giving yourself some agency to have authority over the decisions that you're making in the future so that you don't have to accept things that don't align with your values. And
Mhm.
once you kind of lock in your values and your actions align with your values, that's where you get that, frictionless Japanese magnetic railroad speed.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's so good. It reminds me of one of the new things I have started doing, and that is evolving, growing. We're constantly doing things. You talked about changing careers. Like that's perfectly fine because we are evolving and growing. And one of the new things I have started doing, because I think it was Eckhart Tolle I saw say this, was that treat everything that happens throughout your day as if you planned for it to happen. So when things happen that don't go the way I want them to, I now go, I wanted this to happen, I'm so frustrated about it, but I wanted this to happen, trying to accept it. But it's getting easier, but it does feel good to reframe it that way. I think, reframing is huge in my world. I have
Oh
to
yes.
shift, just see it from a different perspective.
Yeah, mind shifts. Uh, yeah, huge for me too. Have giving people the kind of the tools to discover, the limiting beliefs that they might have had for years and years and years. I'll give you just a silly example of an actual physical item that someone had been operating around for years and years and years because they thought that that's how it was supposed to be.
Mm.
My college roommate, when we moved off campus, my college roommate, we're unpacking groceries and he takes the olive oil and he puts it in the refrigerator. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I usually kept the olive oil in the cabinet. Why'd you put the olive oil in the refrigerator? And he said, it's a very Italian thing. It's how I grew up. It's a very Italian thing. You put the olive oil in the refrigerator. Okay, I accepted him at that. Turns
Mm-hmm.
out his mom comes to visit and she's going to cook for us in our, first like off-campus home.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes to start getting ingredients and she's looking for the olive oil in the cabinet and she can't find it. And she's like, where's the olive oil? And I said, it's in the fridge. It's very Italian. That's where, my roommate said that you're supposed to keep it. And she looked at him and she said, that's not why we had the olive oil in the fridge. We had the olive oil in the fridge because we didn't have a cabinet that was tall enough. So you could be thinking that something is supposed to be the way it
Oh,
is for years and years and
yes.
years, and then find out that that thing happened that way because of a completely different circumstance than you understood it to be.
Man, that's so true. It's we do this as humans. We make up these stories to help things make sense to us.
Yeah,
And it could be totally off the wall stories, but it's to help our brain make sense of it. And that's so funny. That's so good.
yeah.
So true. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I've been holding that story for 30 something, 30 plus years. So,
Yeah. There you go. It was time. It's time for that
yeah.
story to shine right here. It was perfect.
Oh, I've told it very many times to, to remind
Oh,
my friend that not everything is, not everything is necessarily as it seems.
yes,
Yeah, you can take different
absolutely.
perspectives and, different ideas and incorporate them. So,
Right. Yeah. Well, oh my gosh. I want to be respectful of your time. It's like the time has just flown by. I love this conversation, but I do want you to share, if you would, talk more about what you do, how people can reach you, what you can help people with if they want to reach out to you.
yeah, so, part of my journey was in 2022. I'm out here living in Arizona. I'm working in a technology career, and Russia invades Ukraine. And
Mm.
a lot of developers on my team are Ukrainian.
Yeah.
I felt compelled to do something. I don't know where it came from. I'd never done something like this before, but I needed to help. I started Googling how can Americans help Ukrainians. In about 2 weeks, I was on a flight to Krakow, Poland, hooking up with a UK transportation company that during this crisis refugee was meeting refugees at the border of Ukraine and Poland. When the refugees crossed over into Poland, they were helping them get to safe houses, doctor's appointments, relatives, things like that. So I had an opportunity for about 2 weeks to go and help in this way,
Mm.
and it was a huge shift. I'm getting chills talking about it right now. It was a huge shifting
Wow.
moment in my life where not only did I realize how like interconnected, it sounds so cliche, but how interconnected all of humanity is. You know,
Hmm.
different cultures, different languages, different upbringings. We all have, the same kind of something that brings us together, that connects
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
So, having the opportunity to do that and to be of service in that way really shifted how I wanted to show up. And that was the catalyst for me leaving the tech career. Well, one foot still in the tech career for, with people that I want to work with that are doing something interesting. But basically, that had me, start this coaching practice because I wanted to bring the things that I had learned about myself to other people. And I realized
Mm.
in my tech career, I was focused on the people that I was working with mostly anyway. That was what drove me. That's what moved me. I love seeing, people that used to report to me start their own businesses or become, VPs of some big organization.
Hmm.
So I spent the next few years kind of searching how I would be able to show up for people. And that's what led me to life coaching, to becoming a certified life coach. And I built two programs out of that. One of them is a local program here in Arizona. It's a group coaching experience called Building Connections. It takes my experience of building a community and meeting people to others in a group setting where people that, adults that may not have had the skills to create community or don't know how to create community as an adult. I take them through a 12-week group program where we explore how do you interject in a conversation? How do you introduce yourself to someone? Things like that, all the kind of like uncomfortable moments that, people struggle with. And so I help people create community. And then the second, aside from, I do personalized one-on-one coaching, also life coaching, where people, want to work on a specific area of their life, where they want to become the VP or the next level, and they don't know how to get from that point to that point. I do that, building connections. The last thing I'll say is I have a program called Life Reboot Nerd Edition, because I'm a self-proclaimed nerd. And that's mainly focused, again, who I was 5 years ago. This is for people that are nerds, geeks, technologists, generally high performers that feel stuck or feel misaligned with with their values. I take them through. It's like Dungeons and Dragons meets coaching. You create your character in the beginning, which is
Hmm.
yourself, and I always tell people you're the hero of your own story. So you create
Hmm.
your character. I've designed it so that you have life attributes that equate to Dungeons and Dragons statistics. So like your energy equates to Dungeons and Dragons strength. So you baseline yourself, and then we work on exercises over a 12-week period where you work on, I give you tools and exercises to upskill those areas of your life, energy, boundaries, communication. But you do it in kind of this gamified Dungeons and Dragons type aspect. So you have main quests, which are the exercises that I give you every week. Then you have side quests, which are, things that maybe you want to up level on your own that doesn't involve the exercises that I'm giving you. Boss battles, difficult conversations that you might have to have with a coworker, a friend, a spouse. And each of those things earn you XP, experience points. And then the experience points you get to when you earn X number of experience points, you get to go through your character and look at where in your life did you actually level up and level up those statistics of your real life character. So you can see your
Hmm.
character growing over time. And you have that experience of leveling up, in a gamified and in a real world
That's
context.
so cool. So
Yeah, I have a
cool.
lot
Oh
of
my
fun with it.
gosh. I bet. I bet people love that. And that is that in person or online?
That is both. Right now, I'm
Okay.
working with both people in person and online, depending on what their needs are. So I'm working with some people locally that I guess you could call them the failure to launch crowd. So these
Hmm.
are young adults that, kind of haven't acquired the tools, skills, or direction that they need in order to kind of become independent human beings on their own. So I work with
Hmm.
people like that locally, and then I work with other high performing individuals that were like in the tech industry, like I was, that I help them avoid burnout. That's a big one. So how to set those boundaries in the kind of high paced enterprise tech world? How do you set those boundaries that protects your time and energy when you're not working? So you don't just get totally crushed and burned out like I did.
Hmm. Is there a path for, because my youngest son is 16,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking he would absolutely love that. You know, he's a self-proclaimed nerd as well, so he would love that. But do you work with teenagers?
I mostly work with young adults that are 18 and older. So I don't have a program that's strictly a teen program. I've worked with young people coaching, but not through the Life Reboot program. But if you think that's something that you'd be interested in, I'll send it your way. You could take a look at it, and it might be fun for him to try.
Yeah, yeah, and just
That's a good time
throwing
to
it.
do it too. Like when you're, if you have the time and space to invest at a young age, sure, get those skills early.
Well, and that's what I was thinking. Just throwing this out there, you might think about doing one for teenagers.
Yeah,
Just
that's great.
altering what you have, to make it teenage friendly. But yeah, I would love. I'll have him take a look at it. I know he would love it for sure. Thank you.
Yeah,
I before and go ahead and tell people how they can reach you. I'll put it in the show notes, but I'd like for them to hear it as well.
yeah. So it's silvermancoach.com is my website. But if you want to schedule a strategy session with me, I do free 30-minute strategy sessions to see if we're a good fit of working together. And that's at silverman.coach. That has access to my calendar. You can just schedule a session with me and we'll work on some real thing in your life that you're looking to level up. And you'll walk away from the conversation with a couple of action steps at the very least. And then you can decide, and we can decide together whether or not we want to continue working and what that looks like.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
I know our time is about up here, but I want to circle back because I don't ever like to leave the conversation without having completed what you came here with, at the beginning about your client. Does that feel complete? Does that feel like that loop has finished, or does that
Oh,
feel still
yeah.
feel
No, thank
open?
you. Yeah.
Okay.
I know why this is called holding space now. Yeah, absolutely. Like that. Yeah, that's how I start my days too. I have and I didn't this wasn't something that I came out of the womb knowing. I learned
Sure.
from another coach how to set myself up for success in my day. So I start my day, do what she calls a brain dump. So just take 2 minutes and start writing and get everything kind of out of your head, any concern that you might have, get it out on paper, and that She says transitions you from being a human being to a human doing.
Mm, yeah, I love that. I do the same thing. I didn't know all of those facts, but I just do it
Yeah.
because it feels like it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do it in the morning and then before bed at night too.
Yep.
So
Yep.
good, good. All right. Well, thank you so much, Lauren. It's been a pleasure to visit with you. I am excited to share this with the world. So, those of you watching and listening, please share this so that we can get this message out to the world. And again, Lauren, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Amy. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, me too. Okay, until next time, I will be here holding space for you. Thank you for being here. And to my guest, thank you for your honesty, your courage, and your truth. It's an honor to hold space for people like you. If something in this episode stirred something in you, if you breathed deeper, softened, or felt a pull inward, consider this your invitation. Whether you're ready to share publicly or prefer to remain anonymous, I'd love to hold space for you too. This work isn't just for podcasts, it's for people everywhere. And I'm bringing it into businesses, schools, communities, organizations, anywhere humans need a place to be and for someone to hold space for them. To learn more or to schedule your own session or to be a guest on this podcast, visit www.getamyshelp.com or just reach out to me. I'll meet you with open arms and a quiet, sacred seat. Until next time, thank you for being beautifully, unapologetically human.